Do we walk with no power at school? Are students' constitutional rights forgotten at its doors? The answer is simply no. Under one condition: it does not disrupt the learning process. But still, there are many students that feel powerless by those intimidating school officials and their rules, where deep down, you, as a student, know it's wrong and want to escape from this powerless life you seem to have. The metaphorical tape you're forced to walk with every day, limiting your rights to speak up or even be heard. You feel so powerless. The principal and administration seem like they have the right to tell you what you can't write in your, not theirs, your school newspaper. Because why? What gave them the power to tell you you couldn't? You begin to think, what even is freedom of speech and expression? If I'm forced to keep those bad thoughts that make students think in my head, keep that tape over my mouth. Today, I will prove the school newspaper does not disrupt the learning process and does not have the right to be limited. In 1988, Hazelwood School prohibited a student from publishing controversial articles regarding divorce and teen pregnancy. The Supreme Court ruled against the student, saying the newspaper was a learning experience rather than a public forum where anyone can voice their opinion. Journalism is creating the experience that helps teach real-life skills needed in writing and publishing a newspaper. In real life, the newspaper supervisor limits how the content may be presented, not exactly what the content is. Since it was not a content-based mistake, schools do not have the power to confiscate a newspaper because their articles are too controversial. There is no such thing as too controversial because students have the power to read or even agree with it. School can't limit it because it might interrupt the learning process, because there's no proof it actually would. Some schools even argue it disrupts the learning process by provoking, quote, passionate arguments, end quote. Yes, it might spark intellectual thought on the issue, but isn't the purpose of school altogether to learn through thought? If it's a crime to provoke thought-provoking speech, then school altogether has little meaning, and we might as well keep the tape over our mouths. College students may express themselves because at the university level they are legally adults who have the ability to make their own decisions, including decisions to read a newspaper. The Supreme Court ruled in 2006, Hosty versus Carter, that the Hazelwood School ruling could not be applied to colleges. Teachers may teach with their own philosophies, and school does not have the right to punish a teacher or a student for expressing their opinions. Kelly Short, a journalism teacher, had her job suspended and was eventually fired due to disregarding the request to censor the content of the school newspaper. The content was on school surveillance cameras. Short claimed, by not being able to print the article, it was unconstitutional and she wasn't going to side with it. For that, she was asked to leave. Almost a year after, the suit of Short versus Greater Clark County School District finally reached a settlement of $40,000, including her decision to resign from her job. School does therefore not have the power to tell a teacher what their personal views or ideas on teaching can or should be, and can't fire them for those views. Freedom of speech is and should not be disregarded and forgotten at the doors of school, for teachers nor students. Short understood that people have an option to rip off that tape, and that tape doesn't just appear because someone acts as if they have power over you. Proving our constitutional rights apply at school for teachers and students alike. Students, even underage, have rights. These rights should not be forgotten every day when you step into the doors of our school. The school newspaper cannot be limited. The teacher's job is to teach grammar and ways to present the ideas. The student can express their ideas through the paper and should not be forced through fear or even misunderstanding to forget their rights and walk into school with tape. We, as students, must rip off the tape and express our beliefs. School cannot limit newspaper simply because it might spark intellectual thought on the issue, forgetting the whole meaning behind school, to learn. We must throw that tape on the ground, expressing we, as students, understand we have rights, no matter what age or intellectual capacity. And these rights shall not and will not be forgotten at the doors of schools. Newspaper has no right to be limited in its content because it encourages learning, not interrupts it.